What if one of the biggest skeptic became a believer? Jeffrey Lang, a mathematics professor and lifelong atheist, approached religion with logic and skepticism, expecting to debunk it. But when he explored Islam, he found something unexpected, a faith that welcomed questions, encouraged reasoning, and challenged his assumptions. His journey wasn't about blind faith, it was about asking hard questions and finding real answers. This book received 4.07 stars on Goodreads, reflecting its deep impact on readers searching for meaning and truth. If you like this video, don't forget to support the channel by liking and subscribing. Stay tuned for some additional book recommendations with similar insights at the end. Even Angels Ask: A Journey to Islam in America, by Jeffrey Lang. Doubt is not the enemy of faith, it's the path to it. Most people think doubt is a sign of weak faith, but Lang argues the opposite. It's the very thing that makes faith real. He found that Islam didn't demand blind belief, but actively encouraged questioning. The power of asking questions. Imagine a classroom where students are told to accept everything the teacher says without questioning. Would they truly understand the material, or just memorize words? Faith is the same. Many religious communities discourage questioning, fearing it might weaken belief. But Lang found that Islam takes the opposite approach. It invites believers to challenge, reflect, and seek deeper understanding. The Quran repeatedly asks, "Will you not give thought?" encouraging an intellectual pursuit of truth rather than passive acceptance. This deeply resonated with Lang, who saw that Islam didn't suppress doubt. It embraced it as part of the journey to real faith. The Crisis of a Skeptic. How an Atheist Found Faith. As a mathematics professor and lifelong atheist, Lang believed in logic, reason, and empirical evidence. Religion, to him, was just a collection of outdated stories designed to control people. But something inside him felt unsettled. He was drawn to the discipline, structure, and moral framework of Islam, yet resisted the idea of believing in God. It wasn't until he read the Quran for himself that he realized something incredible. Islam was not based on blind faith, but on reason, evidence, and deep philosophical thought. This realization shook him because it meant that belief in God wasn't a rejection of logic, but rather an extension of it. Even Angels Ask: The Quranic Perspective on Doubt. The title of the book comes from a profound story in the Quran. When God created humans, the angels asked, "Will you place in it someone who will spread corruption there and shed blood?" This was shocking to Lang. Even angels questioned God's decision. This meant that Islam didn't view questioning as a sin, but rather as an important part of understanding. This insight helped Lang realize that his doubts were not a sign of weak faith, but of a sincere search for truth. Belief should be a choice, not an obligation. One of Lang's biggest realizations was that forced faith isn't faith at all. Many religious traditions emphasize belief as an obligation, but he found that Islam presented belief as a choice. The Quran emphasizes that there is no compulsion in religion. Faith should be personal and conscious, not inherited or imposed. This deeply resonated with him, as it meant that embracing Islam wasn't about surrendering his intellect, it was about using it to make an informed decision. Bit to remember. Doubt isn't something to fear. It's a stepping stone to deeper faith. True belief isn't about blindly following. It's about questioning, seeking, and choosing. Islam and the balance between faith and reason. For Lang, one of the most compelling aspects of Islam was how it balanced logic and spirituality. Unlike religions that rely solely on mystery, Islam provided a framework that made sense intellectually while still allowing room for faith. Faith doesn't mean turning off your brain. Many people assume that religious belief requires shutting down critical thinking. Lang found the opposite in Islam. The Quran constantly challenges people to examine the world around them, from the vastness of the universe to the precision of nature. The verse, "He also subjected for you whatever is in the heavens and whatever is on the earth, all by His grace. Surely in this are signs for people who reflect," caught his attention. This showed him that faith in Islam was not an escape from reason, but a way to explore it further. The Quran and modern science, a shocking discovery. Lang was fascinated by the scientific accuracy of the Quran. He found references to embryology, the expansion of the universe, and oceanography, concepts that were unknown to humans 1,400 years ago but are now confirmed by modern science. This wasn't proof of Islam's divinity to him at first, but it was evidence that the Quran was far more sophisticated and nuanced than he expected. The fact that it encouraged scientific exploration rather than opposing it made Islam radically different from his preconceived notions of religion. The problem of evil. How can a just God allow suffering? One of Lang's biggest barriers to belief was the problem of evil. If God is all-powerful and just, why does suffering exist? Islam provided an answer that he found uniquely compelling. The Quran presents life as a test of free will, where humans are given the ability to make choices and experience their consequences. Hardships aren't punishments, but opportunities for growth, patience, and self-discovery. This perspective helped Lang make sense of why a just God would allow pain and suffering to exist. Faith evolves. It's not static. Many religions treat faith as a fixed destination. You either believe or you don't. But Lang realized that faith in Islam is a lifelong journey, where questioning, learning, and growing are encouraged. He saw his own journey as proof. His belief didn't happen overnight. It was a process of gaining knowledge, reflecting, and constantly seeking truth. Islam allowed space for both certainty and uncertainty, making faith a dynamic, evolving experience rather than a rigid set of rules. Bit to remember: faith and reason aren't opposites. They're two sides of the same coin. The strongest belief is built on both logic and spirituality. The struggles of converts in the Muslim community. Becoming a Muslim wasn't the hardest part for Lang. Integrating into the Muslim community was. He discovered that while Islam itself was universal, many cultural barriers made it difficult for converts to feel truly accepted. Faith versus culture. Not the same thing. Many converts struggle with distinguishing Islamic teachings from cultural traditions. Lang found that some born Muslims mistakenly equated their culture with Islam, making it harder for converts to navigate their new faith. For example, he met converts who were told they had to adopt Arab or South Asian customs to be considered proper Muslims. However, Islam is not Arab, Pakistani, or Indonesian. It's a global religion meant for all people. Understanding the difference between culture and religion was key to his journey. The loneliness of a convert. Many converts to Islam find themselves feeling isolated. Their old social circles often struggle to understand their new faith, and at the same time, many Muslim communities don't fully welcome them as equals. Lang recalls how some converts were left out of important community events because they weren't seen as authentically Muslim. This lack of social support made it difficult for them to fully integrate and grow in their faith. He emphasizes that the Muslim community must do better at embracing converts as brothers and sisters rather than treating them as outsiders. The pressure to prove one's faith. Some converts feel like they have to prove their sincerity by being extra Muslim, praying more, fasting longer, and following stricter interpretations of the faith. Lang discusses how many converts initially overcompensate by adopting extreme religious views in an attempt to gain acceptance. However, Islam is about balance, not excess, and he warns against turning faith into a performance rather than a personal journey. Bridging the gap, a call for community understanding. Lang stresses the urgent need for cultural sensitivity and inclusivity within the Muslim community. Born Muslims must recognize that converts come from different backgrounds and may struggle with Arabic terminology, Islamic etiquette, or cultural norms. Instead of judging them, the community should support, educate, and integrate them into the fold with love and patience. This is how Islam can truly be the universal faith it was meant to be. Bit to remember. Being a Muslim isn't about where you're from. It's about who you are. Islam is for everyone, not just for one culture. The role of rituals in strengthening faith. Lang discovered that religious rituals weren't just traditions. They were tools for developing a deeper connection with faith. Why prayer is more than just movements. Before converting, Lang saw prayer, salah, as a set of repetitive actions with no deeper meaning. However, once he experienced it firsthand, he realized that it was a transformative practice, a physical, mental, and spiritual alignment. The rhythm of daily prayer kept him grounded, mindful, and constantly connected to God. Even during his hardest days, the act of prayer became a moment of peace. He compares it to meditation, but with a purpose. Instead of emptying the mind, prayer fills it with gratitude, focus, and serenity. The spiritual impact of fasting. Lang describes his first Ramadan as one of the most physically challenging yet spiritually fulfilling experiences of his life. Fasting wasn't just about not eating, it was about self-discipline, detaching from material needs, and purifying the soul. The experience deepened his empathy for those who go hungry every day, made him appreciate food and water in a new way, and strengthened his willpower. Over time, he realized that fasting wasn't a burden. It was a spiritual detox that brought clarity, gratitude, and self-awareness. Zakat, the power of giving. Islam teaches that charity, zakat, isn't just about generosity. It's an obligation. Lang initially struggled with the idea that part of his earnings belonged to others, but he came to see zakat as a powerful force that reduces greed and selfishness. Unlike voluntary charity, zakat is a built-in reminder that wealth is a responsibility, not just a privilege. The more he gave, the more he realized that true wealth isn't in what you accumulate, but in what you give back to others. Hajj, a life-changing experience. Lang discusses the power of pilgrimage, Hajj, even though he hadn't performed it yet at the time of writing the book. Through conversations with others, he saw that Hajj is more than a journey to Mecca. It's a transformation of the soul. The idea of millions of people standing together, dressed the same, with no status or wealth dividing them, resonated with him deeply. It was a reminder that in the eyes of God, all humans are equal, and that humility is at the core of true faith. Bit to remember. Rituals aren't just religious obligations, they're powerful tools for personal growth and discipline. If you enjoyed this summary, check out the following books. Struggling to Surrender by Jeffrey Lang. The Road to Mecca by Muhammad Asad. The Autobiography of Malcolm X by Malcolm X and Alex Haley. No God But God by Reza Aslan. Islam and the Future of Tolerance by Sam Harris and Majid Nawaz.